St. Mary's Gaels head basketball coach Randy Bennett is back on the Marching to Madness College basketball podcast. The Gaels won the West Coast Conference regular season and tournament, in which they took a 75-66 win over Gonzaga in the finals. Coach Bennett has won 533 games in his 23 seasons, and that accounts for a winning percentage of 71.2%. Coach, welcome back.
Good to be with you, Ken. Good to be back on your show. Look forward to talking some ball with you.
Always enjoy talking hoop with you, Coach. Hey, you did such a stellar job of building and running the program. How have you seen the basketball success at St. Mary's influence maybe the area, Moraga, California, beyond the sports realm and beyond the basketball court?
Yeah, that's a good question. I see it in our community a lot. And just so people are just so much more aware of our program, our players, the whole deal. You see it in a lot of ways. You see it in your attendance at games. You see it in contributions to our program financially. You see it in your camp numbers. People just they want their kids around it. Anyhow, it's been nice. I would have had no idea how long it takes to do. You have to just keep. You just got to keep taking turf every year, and we've been doing it for a long time now. But at first it wasn't like it is now. As you do it year after year after year, then it's built on a really solid foundation. That's where I think we're at right now. So it's been great. It's been fun to do, and I've loved every step of the way. But I wouldn't have known it would takes like a decade to really get it on a great foundation.
Yeah, looking at just this past season, what were the keys to the defense and rebounding that allowed for the program's high level? It was kind of like it's the Gaels calling card, so to speak.
It has become that the last 3 years. And we were really good defensively the COVID year too. But last 3 years, we've had a toughness about us that's been a little different. And I think it's personnel related. We just, those are the cards in our hand as far as players. And guys like Logan Johnson, and even a guy like, well, I think we had defensive player of the year 2 out of the last 3 years. So Mitchell Saxon was this year. We had Kyle Bones, really good defender. And then like our guy Augustus Marcelonis, really good defender. And so anyhow, I think we kind of played to our strength, and our strength's been our toughness and our grit and our defensive ability. And we've had more gifted offensive teams and teams that have shot better percentages, but these groups they've just had a toughness about them and a tenacity to make it hard to score on us. And then on the boards, we led the country in rebounding margin this year, which is the first time we've done that. But last 3 years we've been really good there. I think my staff's done a great job on it as far as just being really attentive to how we do on blocking out and making an effort to get the rebound every time. And we put a lot of time into it, but we've been tough there. So we'll see if we can. We lost a couple good ones. We lost Dukas and Mason Forbes this year. So we'll see if we can do it again. I think we can. We have some good. Saxon's a really good rebounder. Our guy Luke Barrett's a really good rebounder. Harry Wessels is a really good rebounder. So we have a lot of them. I think iron sharpens iron a little bit in practice, and I think we're kind of wired that way now.
And as you teach the game, what are the early contents that players learn about that St. Mary's defense that allow you to start the summer work and drills packages?
You know what's we don't we don't work on defense other than lifting, getting stronger, and keeping in shape in the summer. Because we grind them pretty good during the season, but once school starts, we get them in and we start working with them. And Ken, what's different now than it was 10 to 15 years ago is everything gets down to being able to defend an on-ball screen, a pick and roll, and there's so many of them. You better have a really good plan on how you're defending those. And I think we were on the forefront of going heavy with on-ball motion type stuff. We ran a lot of on-balls early back when we had Mickey McConnell and Matt Dellavedova is when we really started going hard with them, and that was 2009, 2010. But not near as many schools had gone all in on them. But now they have, and I just know before every game when we finish up the scout, the big deal is all right. How are we defending their on-ball action? And so we just I think we work at that hard. We have to work at other things, floor position, keeping the ball in front of you. That's one of the biggest things. So I'd say keeping the ball in front of you, knowing your rules on defending on balls, and then a biggie is transition defense, making sure we don't give up easy baskets, and just we rep it out, get the buy-in from the players, and I'd be a fool if I didn't say, hey, we put pretty good, talented defenders on the court in our rotation of 8 most of the time.
We mentioned your 23 years at St. Mary's. Discuss that longevity in Moraga and how you've continued to maintain this well-renowned program. I mean, the 533 wins, they speak for themselves, and that 71.2 winning percentage. There's got to be people that say, hey, we need Randy Bennett over here.
Well, so it's a great question, because I think, and I explain this to recruits, and I explain this to our team, that the reason we've been able to do that is because we have good players. Like, we have good talent, and sometimes people overlook that, but we've had 6 guys getting that NBA since Patty, which was 2009. That's a lot. That's a lot. So we have good players, and then I think we do a good job recruiting. My assistants do a great job in recruiting. The guys who've been here have done a great job there. And the other piece is I have really good assistants. And so I would say we are very consistent and pretty. Our efficiency is due to we have consistent people in our program, like players and coaches, but players. We're careful on who we recruit, and we get guys that just want to try and get to the NCAA tournament and play for something bigger than themselves. So we're careful on that. So we get guys who want to be coached, are willing to be coached, will let us coach them hard, and then the rest takes care of itself.
From an offensive standpoint, what are your philosophies on the balanced nature of scoring and shots? That is, to me, a solid indicator of your program.
I mean, I go a long time on that question, but
yeah,
in simple terms, I would say I think shot selection is number one. So you got to get your guys to understand shot selection. I think it's the number one thing offensively. There's other things for sure. I mean, you got to have guys who make shots.
Sure.
If you get good shots and they can't make them, then you got a problem. And so we're pretty good there. But get him to understand, I think that the NBA, they figured it out, that 3 and D. They want guys who can shoot that 3, and the emphasis is hey, get good layups, get wide open threes, lay off the tough twos. And I think getting your guys to play that way and not settle for and I see teams do it all the time, not settling for a tough two, especially early in the clock. I mean, if the clock's down, you might have to. You better hope you have some good players that can make those, and usually the really good ones can make those. But that's not, you want to stay away from those. You want to get wide open threes. You want to get the ball to the basket, get your free throws, put the ball in the post, get your free throws, get them in foul trouble, get transition if you can, and lay off the tough twos. So that's kind of what we tell our guys, and try and get them to play that way, and try and get it where that's just how they play. They're not really thinking. That's how they play. And if you got our guys do it so much, and we usually have 4 and 5 year guys. If they play open gym, you came in the spring or summer and watched them play open gym.
Sure,
that's how they would play.
it's cool. I mean, it's ingrained in their basketball, the depth inside their mind and how to play.
Yep, it sure is. We like this. We like guys who want to win. We like guys who have high IQ on how to play.
Obviously, you've got some solid players returning, but I wanted to ask you about a couple of kids you got in the transfer portal. Of course, Penny Hardaway's son, Ashton, is coming over to you from the Memphis Tigers. And then Paulius Marsalis is another post player who comes in from Arizona.
Yeah, both those guys we're not usually in the portal. This year we were, and we ended up taking 2 transfers, and both of them were in very good programs, high talent level, and did what a typical good freshman would do, and that's not play a lot. And that happens a lot. I mean, if they're in those programs as a freshman and they're playing 30 minutes, they're probably a one and done.
Yeah.
And kids don't see that coming, even when they're really good players. They just don't see it coming. But it happened to both of them. Ashton went to Memphis, and he played 31 minutes, 31 games, played 8 minutes a game. That's not bad. I mean, but it's just he has some holes. He had to get better. He's just young. He's playing against 23, 24-year-olds every night. So anyhow, he is a nice talent. He's a good talent. And just as I've told him, like, talent's no good if you don't do anything with it. So he's a great kid and wants to be good and wants to be coached. And so I think he's going to be a real nice player if he'll keep working hard, keep getting tougher. If he can defend and rebound, he's gonna see that floor a lot of minutes. And then Paulus is a really good scorer, really good. He was really good in international in the U18s. I think when he played those, he's a leading scorer in the U18. He averaged 20 a game in those. And then he came over, and I would say, yeah, both of them. But Paulus expected to play more and be more of a factor in Arizona. But he had Kashad Johnson and Pell Larson playing ahead of him, and everybody over here would understand it. But it's when you're an international guy, and you come over here, and you've had really good international success scoring the basketball. That's not what he thought was going to happen. So anyhow, it worked in our favor. We're excited to have both of them. I think both of them are going to be good scorers. I think both of them will help a lot. They're good talents. They're both good talents. We just have to coach them up, and get them tough, and get them good on the boards and good at the defensive end. If they do that, their offensive talents will play out for us and help us.
you also have the return of Augustus Marcialonis. He's the son of the NBA Hall of Famer and key Sacramento King Sarunas. There's so many good Lithuanian players who come over and they fit into American basketball. It feels like all those kids that come over from Lithuania play consistently at such a high level and are positive people on the floor.
Yeah, so we've only had one that's really played for us. We had another one that was a walk on Avidus back probably 10 years ago. But so this is my first time I've really coached one that's played for us. And it took Augustus a little while. His first year, he started a little bit, but he played about 15 minutes a game. Second year, same. And then he kind of I think he made a stronger commitment to changing some things in his game, improved as a shooter, stuck around the spring and summer, got in shape, and gained a lot of confidence. And then, I mean, he went from coming off the bench, playing 15 minutes a game, to being player of the year on a very good team. So he made a big jump. Fun to see. I think, he's just they're like our guys that you have to willing to be coached. You got to put in the work. You need to have a great attitude and just have to keep pounding the rock. And he did. And those are good stories. I mean, I think for every coach in the country, you love those stories. You love to see a guy that just hangs in there and powers through it, and then sees the rewards of his work. And I think coaches, that's what we do. We want to see those guys improve and do that. And so I think Paulus will be the same. I think we explained to him before he comes here that, hey, that's how it's going to be. And you have to try and explain to kids it doesn't happen right away as a freshman. Most of the time that is not the case. Every once in a while you'll have a Patty Mills.
Yeah,
he was in the Nike Hoop Summit. He was pretty well prepared. Or a Matt Delvedova that he was just tough enough, strong enough, smart enough, good enough. But it doesn't usually happen that way. It's Jock Limedale for us, who's playing for the Houston Rockets now and doing very well. He was getting DNPs as a freshman. And then as a sophomore, he played 15 minutes a game, and he broke through his junior year. But that is the norm. And I think the biggest thing when we recruit guys is we have to explain it to them. Hey, it could happen right away, but it usually doesn't. And it usually takes a little while, but if you hang in there, it will happen.
Last thing, Coach, the WCC has always been a forward thinking, a forward compactful conference. And of course, I think the teams in the middle have gotten better, year by year. But you guys are adding Oregon State and Washington State to the WCC this season. Obviously, with the loss of the Pac-12, the Beavers and the Cougars, we're still alive to find a home. And you guys in the WCC did that. Talk a little bit about those two teams coming in.
Yep. So they, with the Pac-12 disappearing, now I think WCC and Mountain West are the two top conferences in the West.
Sure.
Which is exciting. And I think with adding Washington State and Oregon State, it gives us a chance to be the best conference in the West. Mountain West is very good.
Yeah.
But it adds. Really, Oregon State has great basketball tradition. Back when Ralph Miller was coaching and Jimmy Anderson was after him, I mean, they've had some great players. So they didn't have a great year last year, but a couple years ago they went to the Final Eight. They have great tradition. They have an arena that's tough to play in. I know that from being in the West. So adding that is good for men's basketball. And then Washington State had a terrific year last year.
Yeah.
And their new coach,
Yeah.
Yeah, Price is he's bringing some of his Eastern Washington players with him into Washington State, and they're good players. They won the Big Sky, so
Yeah.
they'll be. I think they're locked and loaded to be pretty good. So I think we're adding a quad one game with them. We'll see on Oregon State. There's so many changes now. It's hard to figure out who's going to be good because you don't know what they picked up in transfers. You don't know for sure what they lost. So, but those two have the resources to be good in our league. They'll have good NIL. They'll have good home court advantage. They'll have, I mean, they have high major football programs, and those are schools with big money, and so they'll have that, and so it'll be interesting. And then right behind that is coming Grand Canyon and Seattle U. So I think we have enhanced our league. I think we set it up where we can be the top league in the West. And that happens that you just get better recruits, you get better TV, you get more teams in the tournament, you get more quad one games and conference games. So anyhow, it's exciting. It's gonna be tough. I mean, those guys will make it tougher to do what we've done. But anyhow, that's where you want to be. You want to play in the best conference in the West if you can, and we'll try and do that.
Coach Randy Bennett, back on Marching to Madness. It's always a pleasure, Coach. I enjoy talking Gaels. I enjoy talking basketball or whatever's going on at that time. Thanks a lot for your time today.
Ken, thanks for taking the time on the 4th of July. I appreciate that, and happy 4th of July, my man.
Happy 4th of July.